An interesting question, and honestly, I
don't know if I
can't ever say
have
that I've
stopped
ever
being
felt
homesick.
Like many times in my life, like I think a lot of people have.
There is no feeling of home and therefore no feeling of homesickness.
One of the very first times that I felt that way was
I think it's a feeling
when I
that
was a
maybe
little
has
girl,
attached itself to
and
how
we would,
I not only remember
take
what I guess
trips
would
down
be
to
considered my
Mexico
original home.
to
I worked a lot.
visit my
just
extended
to,
family
get out of
members.
that country and my house and get away from my family.
I, in high school, decided that home is where my heart is, and my heart is in my chest. So I carry home with me everywhere.
As I've moved around from place to place,
lots of times when I was little, probably like 12 times.
It's really rare that I actually meet anybody else who has only lived in one house their whole life.
Me and my family talk a lot. We've always had family
It
dinners.
felt like it was going to be unbearable.
I definitely find home in people.
And so I rely on communication with them to maintain pretty much my mental well-being at all times. I talk to my dad dozens of times a day.
family was a constant source of stress growing up. Also, my parents are divorced, so home was always separated.
When I came to Boston, I
I just
started
remember
living
being
independently and,
perplexed
I got
at
to
the
see
fact
what I
that
want to
we
have
had to
around.
but maybe
travel
has
I've probably been living in
an
the
expectation
see
or
our loved one.
what? That
the
feels
same place
negative,
the
perhaps.
longest I ever lived anywhere. It's my 4th year living in my apartment in Brighton, here in Boston.
So obviously I
That's the longest I've
feel
ever been anywhere.
a really
I have
deep connection
zero
to
attachment to it.
not only
whatsoever.
like my city and my neighborhood, but also like my home, the actual building, like the walls, every part
I
of
don't
it.
really get homesick for a specific place, and if I did, it would be for
I just felt like my
my grandmother's
mom's
house, but she
house
sold that house.
was
Kind
more
of wish that I was
or how I
back
want
at
to
home
understand
where everything was
home and
familiar
maybe just
instead of being in
from
this
that
new
previous
place with new
experience,
people.
But I
myself to
managed
live in a way that
make
feels
space
content.
a safe place for me.
I have come home tattooed on my forearms, and it's in my dad's
At
handwriting.
the time, I was
because
just
he
so
is the sort of home
confused.
for me, and
And, you know,
It feels
kids
like
get
there are different
frustrated
parts of
about
home that I miss.
being in a
So
car.
whenever I came to Boston
13
last
hours.
year,
Because
it
I'm
was
not
my
with
first
those
time
people or that
ever
one person
leaving
that
home. It was my first time ever
tends to make
moving.
me
For
feel,
like being in my
as
bed and
comfortable as I
having
can
my mom
possibly
bring
be,
like soup
feel
and toast
all
to
those
me
things that
and
you
just
feel
kind
when
of
you are
help
home.
me feel
the
better.
feelings that you want to
And I
feel when you're
managed
homesick,
to just
cozy and comfortable and
incorporate
safe,
all of that stuff that made me feel
warm, and
safer
like you could just
into
relax
that
and
house that
melt
did not
into a
make me feel
chair
safe.
that might be like super old and rickety for somebody else, but for you, that's your melting chair. You just melt into it, even though it like definitely is messing up your back and your posture.